6 minutes.
Well, Gunnar gave me grace to talk about, which I was like, I don't even know what that is, so I don't like that. But before I start, I do want to honor Myra because I was messaging her last night, and I was just like, oh, we miss you or whatever. And then she was like, miss you guys too. Also pray for my dad. He's not responding again. But I want to honor her because she's the absolute best example of how you fight for your family. Like, she fights so hard for her dad, and it doesn't matter how many miracles God gives her for her prayers. She just keeps asking for more. And it's amazing to see that she just will not give up on believing that her dad is going to be restored, have another 5 years healthy, not sick. So I want to honor her for that example. The title of my message is The Grace Check. And I was like, God, I don't even understand grace. Like, you use it in so many different ways. It's pretty confusing. I need you to give me the boiled down grace for dummies or grace for humans, because it doesn't make sense. And I felt like he said, simply think as grace as my spirit flowing through. And if you want to see it or measure it in your life, look at how well you do at pouring out my spirit. So if you think of grace as God's spirit and us being graceful or whatever is how well can we let God pour out of us. So I have 4 checks basically that you can run through to see if grace is fully operating in your life. And the first one is, do I understand that my ability to pour out is directly correlated to my ability to receive? Matthew 10:18 says to give as freely as you have received. So I can't just expect to go pour out if I'm not receiving. One example of this is if you take Mother Teresa versus Jesus. Like, Mother Teresa was awesome, but all she did was pour out. And eventually she died from the same thing that she was trying to solve. Whereas Jesus, he would pour out, and then be like, all right, you guys are making me mad. This is tiring. I got to get out. I'm dipping. You're not going to even know where I go, but I'm going to go receive from my Father. I'm going to go fill back up. So that's the example that we have to have. We have to understand, like, God's not just called me to pour out all this stuff. I have to stop and I have to receive. Like, that is a priority. Number 2, the question you can ask is, do I recognize and know what's coming in and out? So a good example of this is I used to think that pouring out grace was pouring out works. And so I would just be exhausted because I was always like, well, I need to say yes because I'm trying to have grace here. So if somebody asks me to do something, if somebody asks me for forgiveness, if somebody asks me for money, I'm just going to give it to them because I'm trying to have grace. But if you think of grace as God's spirit flowing through, his spirit isn't always say yes to the person. His spirit isn't always, let them stay at your house another night. You have to have his spirit so that you have his wisdom and his discernment as to what you're supposed to do. The other thing is, you can't hang out under the faucet of the enemy's lies and expect to pour out God's truth. So we have to be conscious of what's coming in. Am I receiving what God's truth is, or am I listening to the devil? Am I hanging out and being like, well, yeah, but he says this, so, maybe I should listen to that? Or am I like, no, I'm not even entertaining that. I'm getting under God's truth, and I'm just going to keep filling myself with his word. Because we can't just change magically like what we receive and we pour out something different. It's going to be the same. If I'm receiving like fear of rejection, I'm going to pour that out when I'm trying to encourage people. If I'm receiving bitterness, that's what I'm going to pour out. So we have to be very conscious of what it is that's coming in, going out. And then the third thing is, do you get that it is not optional? Matthew 10:18 again, it said, heal the sick, raise the dead, cure those with leprosy, and cast out demons. Give as freely as you have received. So we have to understand, like, I can't play around and skip getting filled up. I can't play around, and when God does fill me, just let it go to waste. I have to know that it's a command, it's a call in my life that when God fills me, I have to give it out. I can't just go around and nonchalantly be like, well, I didn't really feel like it was the right moment, or the person was kind of nervous, I don't think I'm going to do anything. Like, we have to say, no, this is a call on my life. I have got to continuously be receiving and pouring out if I want to be walking in grace. And point number 4 was the one that I just kind of landed on, and I want to end with 2 Timothy 2:20. And it says, in a large house, there are articles not only of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay. Some are for special purposes and some common uses. This one got me excited because it made me realize, like, there's levels to grace. And if I think of myself as a vessel, there's different types of vessels you can be, and there's different levels to the things that you can operate in. So if we think about the fact that there's different vessels and they each have their distinct purposes, I need to constantly be asking God, like, what vessel do you have me serving as right now, and where are you calling me to pour out? And I think once we get that, that's when God can give us some very specific things. Instead of just giving us the ability to pray words of encouragement, he's like, hey, here's a miracle, or here's a vision for this person. I need you to go and deliver it. Like, you're the vessel or the messenger of the things from heaven into the world. At the end of the day, that's what grace is, just God pouring through us and pouring out. So just kind of ask yourself those questions. Am I receiving and pouring out? What's coming in and out? And do I know that I'm obligated to deliver it? I don't just get to hold on to it. So that's all I have. Thank you.